Welcome, curious minds, to another truly fascinating deep dive.
Hello, everyone.
We've curated an incredible stack of sources for you today, taking us on a journey that spans from the furthest reaches of the cosmos.
All the way down to the intricate workings of our own bodies.
Exactly. And right into the heart of global diplomacy, too. Our mission, as always, is to give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed.
Packed with surprising
And
facts.
just enough humor, hopefully, to keep you hooked.
Absolutely. What's often overlooked, yet truly insightful, is the way these seemingly disparate events and discoveries weave together. They offer critical insights into our shared world and, well, what may lie ahead.
Right.
Our purpose today is really to distill what's most important from all this material, helping you understand not just the what, but the why and maybe the so what.
All right, let's jump in then. Today we're covering an incredible array of topics. We've got tantalizing clues of ancient life on Mars.
And the spectacular birth of massive stars.
Then there's the rapidly evolving ethics of artificial intelligence, or AI.
The shifting sands of geopolitics, certainly.
And even ancient human migrations that, honestly, could rewrite history. Get ready to connect some dots you didn't even know were there. 1. Cosmic mysteries and our place in it. From Martian microbes to stellar births.
Okay, let's kick things off with a literal blast-off straight into some of the most profound cosmic mysteries humanity grapples with. One of the biggest questions of all time is, are we alone?
Always the big one.
And a recent discovery by NASA's, that's the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, their Perseverance Mars rover, has brought us tantalizingly close to an answer, or maybe a hint of an answer.
Indeed, this is potentially a monumental development in our search for extraterrestrial life. The Perseverance rover has discovered what they're calling a potential biosignature. It's within a rock sample.
Okay, a potential biosignature. What does that actually mean in this context?
Well, this particular sample, they've named it Sapphire Canyon, was collected from a rock called Chayava Falls. It's located within the ancient, now very dry, riverbed of Jezero Crater on Mars. Right, Jezero Crater, where they think there was once a lake or river delta.
Exactly. And the findings, which offer pretty compelling evidence, were recently highlighted in the prestigious scientific journal Nature.
Sapphire Canyon and Chayava Falls, those names alone sound like they belong in an epic space opera. But for those of us who aren't, planetary geologists, what exactly did they find in these rocks that makes this such a potential game changer? What makes something more than just an organic compound? What makes it a biosignature?
That's a really crucial distinction, and it goes right to the heart of why NASA is always so meticulous, so cautious. The in-depth analysis of these sedimentary rocks revealed they are unusually rich in both organic compounds and specific minerals,
Okay.
namely vivianite and greigite. Now, on Earth, these particular iron phosphate minerals are almost exclusively associated with microbial life.
Ah, okay. So here on Earth, if you find those, you think microbes.
Pretty much. Vivianite, for instance, tends to form in oxygen-poor, iron-rich environments where organic matter decays, and often that decay happens through the activity of bacteria. Greigite, similarly, is a magnetic iron sulfide mineral, and it's frequently precipitated by certain iron-reducing bacteria.
So finding them together.
Finding them together, and within sedimentary layers that would have once definitely hosted water, strongly suggests conditions suitable for microbial ecosystems. This combination is genuinely the closest we have come yet to identifying signs of ancient life on Mars.
Wow.
It implies that the red planet might have been habitable for a longer period, or perhaps much later in its history than we previously thought.
So we're talking about chemical footprints that back here on Earth pretty much scream, microbes were here. But I know NASA is famously cautious. You said potential biosignature. Why the hedge? Why not just declare it?
Right, and that's where the absolute rigor of scientific validation kicks in. It's vital, absolutely vital, to distinguish between true biosignatures, definitive evidence of life, and abiotic processes.
Abiotic, meaning non-living.
It's exactly non-living geological or chemical reactions that can sometimes mimic features of life. They can produce complex organic molecules or certain mineral structures. For scientists to conclusively validate any claim of extraterrestrial life, they really require multiple independent lines of evidence.
Okay.
Evidence that cannot be explained by any known abiotic mechanism. Think of it like building an absolutely irrefutable legal case.
One piece of evidence isn't enough, even if it's strong.
Precisely. One piece of circumstantial evidence, no matter how compelling, just doesn't cut it. And then there's the other major concern, terrestrial contamination.
Ah, bringing Earth germs to Mars by accident.
or even just Earth molecules. Even with the most extreme sterilization protocols imaginable, any equipment we send from Earth could theoretically carry hardy terrestrial microbes,
Mhm.
or even just complex organic molecules from Earth. That makes it incredibly difficult to be absolutely certain a finding is genuinely Martian and not just an earthly hitchhiker.
Right. The stakes for getting it wrong are huge.
Astronomically high, yes. A false positive would be a massive setback. So scientists prioritize accuracy above absolutely everything else.
So what does this discovery truly mean then for well, our relentless search for life beyond Earth? It sounds like we're closer than ever, maybe standing on the edge of rewriting humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. But we still need to, cross those cosmic T's and dot those I's back here on Earth, don't we?
That's it exactly.
Hmm.
This is a groundbreaking finding. It profoundly reshapes our hypotheses about Mars's ancient habitability. It extends the potential window for life's existence there. It shifts our perspective from just looking for past water to actively seeking the complex mineralogical and organic interactions that life, as we know it, seems to require.
Okay.
However, the ultimate confirmation, the smoking gun, really hinges on the Mars Sample Return Program.
The plan to bring Martian rocks back here.
Yes, an incredibly ambitious and unbelievably complex initiative. This program aims to physically bring these precious Martian samples back to Earth for rigorous laboratory analysis. Here, we possess far more sophisticated and precise analytical tools than any rover could possibly carry.
Right, you can do much more in a full lab.
Absolutely. We can do precise carbon dating, isotope analysis, high-resolution electron microscopy, things that are just impossible to conduct remotely on Mars. But despite the immense scientific promise, the logistical challenges, the engineering hurdles, the political complexities, they're significant.
I bet. Bringing stuff back from another planet sounds expensive and difficult.
Billions of dollars, international cooperation, and just overcoming the sheer technical difficulties of launching from Mars, rendezvousing in orbit, and returning safely to Earth. So the journey from that Martian dirt and Jezero crater to a definitive answer about ancient life is, by necessity, a long, winding, and incredibly meticulous one. It's really a testament to the scientific method working at its highest level.
Okay, from the ancient whispers of possible life on Mars, let's shift our gaze even further out into the cosmos. We're going to where stars are just beginning their lives, and apparently, not quietly, but with a colossal cosmic announcement. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, has given us another absolutely stunning image, a true stellar birth announcement on a scale that's just hard to fathom.
You're absolutely right. It's another breathtaking image from Webb that really redefines our understanding of star formation. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has indeed captured a stunning image of an absolutely immense stellar jet. It's in the nebula SH-2-284.
SH-2-284, where's that, roughly?
It's located an astonishing 15,000 light-years away from us,
Yeah.
deep within our own Milky Way galaxy. And this particular jet, it stretches over an incredible 8 light-years.
8 light year. Wait, how big is our solar system again? Like out to Neptune?
Our entire solar system, Sun to Neptune, is only about 0.00006 light-years across. So yeah, this jet is unfathomably large, a truly enormous cosmic phenomenon.
That just captivates me. An 8 light year long party streamer announcing a star's arrival. That's quite the entrance. What kind of star unleashes such a dramatic display? And why is seeing a jet of this magnitude so rare?
Well, this immense jet is the result of gas being expelled at incredible speeds by a truly massive protostar.
Protostar meaning a baby star, right? Still forming.
Exactly. A star still in its embryonic formation stage. And this one weighs about 10 times as much as our own sun.
Wow, 10 solar masses.
Yes. And massive stars like that are inherently rare compared to smaller, more common stars like our sun. Their formation processes are incredibly energetic, chaotic, and often shrouded by these really dense cocoons of dust and gas.
Making them hard to see.
Extraordinarily difficult to observe directly, especially in visible light. That's where Webb's infrared capabilities are crucial. And researchers highlight the rarity of such powerful stellar jets because they are relatively short-lived phenomena, astronomically speaking. They're visible only during a specific brief phase of a massive star's birth.
So it's like catching it at just the right moment.
Precisely. These celestial phenomena effectively serve as that birth announcement, a signature of the intense processes at play as a giant star accretes mass and spins up. The study specifically reveals that the size and the energy of these jets seem to scale directly with their parent star's mass.
Meaning bigger stars make bigger jets.
Bigger stars make bigger, more powerful, and more luminous announcements, yes.
So these jets aren't just like cosmic fireworks for show. They're actually revealing the star's entire life story as it begins, giving us a window into its origins and how it's going to evolve.
That's a great way to put it. Webb's infrared observations are absolutely crucial here because its instruments can pierce through the dense gas and dust that typically obscure these stellar nurseries. That allows us to see the complex structure of the jet in unprecedented detail.
And what does that structure tell us?
Observing how this jet interacts with the surrounding interstellar matter, the gas and dust already out there, provides invaluable clues. Clues about the star's formation history, its rotation rate, its magnetic fields, and its profound role in galactic evolution.
How does it affect the galaxy?
Well, these massive stars, through their jets and later through their intense radiation and eventual supernova explosions, blast away surrounding gas and dust. This can trigger new star formation in some regions by compressing gas clouds, while actually inhibiting it in others by blowing the material away. They effectively sculpt their home galaxies.
Wow. So they're galactic architects, in a way.
In a very real way.
Yep.
And more broadly, this discovery might help scientists understand conditions in the early universe, particularly in regions with low metallicity.
Low metallicity, meaning fewer heavy elements, right?
Right.
Like the universe before many stars had lived and died.
Exactly. Environments with a lower abundance of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium compared to our sun and our local galactic neighborhood. Our galaxy has accumulated more metals, as astronomers call them, over billions of years from previous generations of exploding stars. So observing star formation in these low metallicity environments, like maybe some dwarf galaxies today or conditions mimicking the early universe, provides a glimpse into those pristine conditions.
Like looking back in time.
It could potentially redefine our theoretical models of how the very first stars and galaxies ever formed after the Big Bang.
Amazing stuff. Okay, from the spectacular birth of stars to the rather less welcome potential end of days from above, let's talk about asteroids. It seems we're getting smarter about planetary defense, thinking about how to protect ourselves. But there's a serious and kind of counterintuitive watch out when it comes to trying to deflect a killer asteroid.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not simple. It's more like a high-stakes cosmic chess game than, say, billiards. Recent advancements in asteroid deflation techniques, things learned from missions like DART, emphasize an incredibly cautious and precise approach. If scientists were to deploy an impactor, like a spacecraft designed to crash into an asteroid, to nudge a potentially hazardous one off course, that's the kinetic impact technique.
Yeah, just give it a shove.
Right. But the timing and the exact location of that impact are not just important, they are absolutely critical. This is far from a simple game of cosmic bumps.
So it's not just about hitting it hard enough, but how and where you hit it down to an almost unimaginable degree of precision. Is that the idea?
Precisely. It's vital, absolutely vital, to avoid what scientists call a gravitational keyhole.
A keyhole? What's that? Sounds ominous.
Imagine these keyholes as, well, gravitational sweet spots. They're incredibly narrow, almost invisible regions in space, usually relatively close to a planet like Earth. If a deflected asteroid happens to pass through one of these specific keyholes on a future orbit,
Uh-oh.
Earth's own gravity could inadvertently act like a slingshot. It gravitationally perturbs the asteroid's trajectory in just the wrong way. Instead of being sent harmlessly away into deep space,
It gets pulled back.
it could, ironically, be guided onto a future collision course with Earth, maybe years or decades down the line. It could actually make the situation far, far worse than if we had done nothing at all.
Wow. That's terrifying, trying to save the world and accidentally aiming the asteroid right at it later on.
Exactly. So the calculations required are incredibly sophisticated. They have to account for the precise mass, velocity, rotation, and composition of the asteroid, plus Earth's complex gravitational field, the influence of the Moon, other planets. Careful planning, sophisticated computer modeling, and extremely accurate real-time tracking and calculations are essential to enhance the success of deflecting these threats without exacerbating the risks.
The DART mission, the double asteroid redirection tests, that was a success, wasn't it? Didn't it hit Dimorphos?
Yes, DART was a hugely successful proof of concept. It demonstrated our ability to actually hit a small asteroid moonlet and measurably change its orbit. That was a major step. But the keyhole problem shows the next level of precision and understanding required if we ever face a truly hazardous object heading our way. It's about the long-term trajectory, not just the initial nudge.
That's a truly chilling thought, attempting to save Earth only to accidentally doom it later. So given this extreme sensitivity, how prepared are we, really, as humanity for such a complex, high-stakes cosmic intervention? It sounds like the universe is a very busy place with lots of these potential threats floating around.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a perfect example of humanity preparing for, cosmic eventualities. It's a field that's definitely gaining increasing urgency and, importantly, international cooperation. But does raise that important question. Are we truly ready for such a complex, high-stakes endeavor?
And the answer is?
The answer is probably. We are getting ready, but the challenge is immense. The universe is, as you said, incredibly busy. Consider this. There are over 33,000 near-Earth asteroids cataloged right now. And astronomers estimate there are probably 14,000 more out there, larger than 140 meters in size, still waiting to be discovered.
140 meters. That's
Yeah.
big enough to cause serious regional devastation.
Sure. Absolutely. City killer size, or worse. And just last month alone, 12 asteroids passed closer to Earth than the Moon. That happens more often than people realize.
Wow.
And on top of that, Earth is constantly bombarded by about 100 tons of space dust and micrometeoroids every single day.
So it's a shooting gallery out there.
It's a dynamic environment. While we track the largest and most immediate threats with systems like ATLS and PanSTARRS, the sheer number of objects, the challenges of detecting them early enough, especially the ones coming from the direction of the sun, and the computational complexity of predicting trajectories and planning deflection scenarios means continuous vigilance, rapid technological advancement, and robust international collaboration are absolutely non-negotiable.
It really puts things in perspective.
It's a testament to both our growing scientific capability and, frankly, the humbling scale of the cosmic forces at play around us. 2. AI's dual-edged sword: innovation, ethics, and infrastructure.
Okay, moving from the vastness of space to the equally rapidly expanding and some might say sometimes overwhelming universe of artificial intelligence. It feels like AI is everywhere now, and increasingly it's talking to us. Voice AI in particular seems to be undergoing a truly remarkable evolution this year.
It genuinely is, and the pace is just accelerating. Voice artificial intelligence technology is experiencing a profound evolution in 2025. It's increasingly permeating pretty much every imaginable sector, from entertainment and media production to critical applications in healthcare, education, customer service, you name it.
Yeah.
Key developments in this really exciting field were prominently showcased recently at TechCrunch Disrupt 2025. We heard some invaluable insights there from industry leaders, people like Mighty Stanislavski, who's the CEO of 11 Labs.
11 Labs, right. They're one of the big names in realistic voice synthesis, aren't they?
They're widely recognized as being right at the cutting edge of this transformative technology, yes.
Okay, let's unpack this. I mean, imagine your favorite audiobook narrated by an AI that sounds exactly like, well, anyone you choose, maybe even your own voice cloned, or a customer service bot that actually sounds genuinely empathetic, not robotic.
Right.
But what does this mean for the actual human narrators and voice actors? The people who make their living with their unique voice? That seems like a deeply personal question for many.
And what's truly compelling, or perhaps concerning, here is the deeply paradoxical nature, the real double-edged sword that this rapid development presents to us as a society. 2025 is unequivocally positioning itself as a pivotal year for voice AI. We're seeing innovations that make synthesized voices sound not just increasingly human-like,
which is already pretty amazing,
but also more efficient to generate, incredibly adaptable, and critically more emotionally aware. They're getting better at conveying nuance, tone, sentiment.
Emotionally aware AI voices. That's
Yeah.
slightly unnerving.
It can be. Companies are now creating highly customizable voice outputs using minimal training data. Sometimes just a few seconds of a person's recorded voice is enough to create a clone.
Seconds.
They're leveraging these technologies for everything from, say, seamless voiceovers in films, TV shows, video games, to significantly enhancing user interactions with virtual assistants like Alexa or Siri, and creating powerful accessibility tools.
Okay, so on the one hand, you've got incredible advancements, accessibility, efficiency, personalization. It could revolutionize how we interact with technology, maybe break down language barriers.
It could even allow individuals who have lost their voice due to illness or injury to speak again using a synthesized version of their own voice, or a chosen voice. The potential benefits are huge.
But on the other hand,
This rapid development has sparked truly significant and often quite heated discussions around profound ethical concerns, particularly regarding creativity, intellectual property rights, and employment within the vibrant voice acting industry.
yeah, I can see that. If AI can do your voice perfectly, why hire you?
Exactly. This raises an absolutely essential question about how we, as a society, navigate this incredibly rapid technological shift responsibly and thoughtfully. How do we ensure we don't inadvertently devalue, diminish, or frankly exploit human talent and artistic integrity in vocal performance?
Are there actual debates happening around this? Rules being discussed?
Oh, yes. There are ongoing debates about fair compensation for voice actors whose voices are used to train AI models. Discussions about the need for clear, informed consent before a voice can be cloned. There are even calls for establishing new kinds of digital performance rights that would protect voice actors from having their voices cloned and used indefinitely without their control or fair remuneration. It is a complex legal and ethical minefield.
It really sounds like it. Okay, beyond just the voice, AI needs some truly colossal power to run, doesn't it? It's not just software magic. We're seeing huge developments in both the fundamental battery technology that powers our physical world, our devices, our cars, and the literal cloud infrastructure that AI itself relies on. It's like the physical and digital foundations of our future are being rebuilt simultaneously.
That's an exceptionally crucial observation, absolutely. Because these two areas, energy storage and massive computation, represent the foundational technologies driving future growth across virtually every sector imaginable. On the battery front, for instance, there's Jar. They're a groundbreaking Dutch startup.
Sleyden jar.
They've successfully secured an impressive $23 million in new funding, and alongside that, a significant $10 million strategic investment from a prominent, though unnamed, U.S. consumer electronics company.
Big money. What are they using it for?
This substantial capital injection is specifically earmarked to rapidly scale up production for their innovative silicon anode technology.
Silicon anodes. Now, why is that such a potentially monumental deal? Aren't lithium-ion batteries already pretty advanced? What makes silicon anodes so disruptive?
They are advanced, yes, but silicon anodes are truly heralded for their transformative potential. They could fundamentally challenge the current battery manufacturing landscape, which, as you know, is largely dominated by massive firms, particularly in China.
How do they work differently?
Unlike traditional graphite anodes used in most lithium-ion batteries today, silicon, as an anode material, promises to substantially increase energy density.
Energy density meaning more power in the same size or weight.
Exactly. We're talking potentially up to 50% more energy packed into the same space or weight.
50%? That's huge.
It is. This means we could achieve significantly lighter, longer-lasting batteries with dramatically quicker charging times. That's absolutely critical for the electric vehicle market.
Longer range, less waiting at chargers.
Yes, but also for portable electronics. Thinner phones, laptops that run for days, and even grid-scale energy storage to support renewable energy sources. Jar's first full-scale production facility, their gigafactory, will be strategically located in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands.
Oh, Eindhoven. Okay, a tech hub in Europe.
Right, and the explicit aim is to reduce global dependency on existing Asian supply chains for these critical components and position Europe as a central hub for cutting-edge battery innovation and production.
So it's technological and geopolitical.
Absolutely. It's about innovation, but also about strategic autonomy and supply chain resilience for Europe.
And then there's the other side of the power coin, the truly monumental deal underpinning AI's insatiable hunger for processing power. I saw headlines about this OpenAI Oracle deal. The numbers are just staggering.
Absolutely staggering. And what looks like a monumental shift for the core infrastructure supporting AI development, OpenAI.
The creators of ChatGPT, DALL-E.
Exactly, the pioneering force behind many large language models and generative AI. They and Oracle have reportedly clinched a historic cloud computing deal. The reported value is up to an astonishing $300 billion over 5 years.
$300 billion just for cloud computing.
It's an unprecedented figure. This agreement firmly positions Oracle as a formidable and essential partner for OpenAI. Oracle will be providing the immense computing power, particularly the specialized graphics processing units, or GPUs, that AI training thrives on, plus the vast storage capabilities absolutely essential for OpenAI's ambitious projects.
Why do these AI models need so much power?
Training these next-generation AI models, like the successors to GPT-4, requires processing unimaginable amounts of data, refining them, running them for millions of users. It demands unprecedented levels of computational horsepower. Oracle seems to be stepping up to provide a significant chunk of that.
Is OpenAI putting all its eggs in the Oracle basket, though? That sounds risky.
That's a good point. It appears to be a highly strategic move for OpenAI to also diversify its IT resources. They reportedly also engaged with Google Cloud in a separate agreement earlier in 2025.
Ah, okay. Spreading the load.
Precisely. Ensuring critical resilience against potential service outages from any single provider, managing huge fluctuations in user demand, and avoiding single point of failure risks in what's becoming an intensely competitive AI landscape. They need multiple strong partners.
So what does all of this mean when we put it together? The battery tech, the massive cloud deal. We're talking about the fundamental building blocks of tomorrow's tech economy, aren't we? From how we sustainably power our electric vehicles and gadgets, to how we provide the sheer computational horsepower for the next generation of artificial intelligence. It's truly a global race to build the future from the ground up.
You've articulated it perfectly. These two stories, while seemingly distinct, one about physical energy storage, the other about digital processing power, highlight the foundational technologies driving future growth and innovation across our entire global economy. Leyden jar represents the push for more sustainable, efficient energy storage needed for greener transport and maybe a more localized, resilient supply chain for critical components. The OpenAI Oracle deal, on the other hand, underscores the absolutely massive computational power and robust infrastructure required to advance AI, pushing the boundaries of what these intelligent systems can achieve.
And both seem crucial.
Both are absolutely pivotal for future technological and economic evolution. They're creating the essential backbone, the unseen plumbing and wiring for the myriad innovations and societal shifts we will undoubtedly witness in the coming years.
As AI continues to get more powerful and, well, more pervasive in our lives, it's raising some truly significant questions about its reach and how we as a society need to think about regulating it, especially when it comes to things like social media and even these new AI companion chatbots. It feels like the Wild West days of AI might be starting to end, at least in some places.
That's a critical societal conversation that's definitely gaining traction, both among lawmakers and the general public. You're right. California, which often acts as a trendsetter in technology regulation in the U.S., is apparently on the brink of enacting a bill known as SB 243.
SB 243.
Yes, and it would represent the first legislation in the United States specifically aimed at regulating these AI companion chatbots.
AI companions, like chatbots designed to be friends.
Essentially, yes. Chatbots designed for emotional connection, conversation, companionship. And this bill is primarily driven by increasing concerns over children's mental health. That's become a critical issue, especially given studies indicating that over 72% of American teenagers currently engage with such chatbots regularly.
72% of teenagers. That's an astonishing number. We're not just talking about asking a bot for homework help here.
No, we're talking about potentially deep, ongoing interactions, possibly forming emotional attachments
Right.
to an AI.
You've hit on the core concern there. The bill, which is being spearheaded by State Senator Steve Padilla, mandates strict safety protocols for the developers of these chatbots. It aims to ensure that the companies operating them take clear responsibility for the technology's potential impact on users, particularly on minors.
What kind of impact are they worried about?
Well, this legislation arises against the deeply troubling backdrop of some tragic stories, including, reportedly, a teenager's death that has been linked to harmful and manipulative interactions with chatbots from platforms like CHAI and Character.ai.
Oh, wow. That's serious. Extremely serious. The risks include potential emotional manipulation, the spread of harmful misinformation or unhealthy ideas, exposure to inappropriate content, and even in the worst cases, encouraging self-harm or dangerous behaviors. It highlights a growing awareness that these digital companions, while perhaps engaging and sometimes seemingly harmless, can pose serious psychological and safety risks if left entirely unregulated, particularly for vulnerable young users whose minds are still developing.
So regulation is coming for the AI, friends. What about social media itself? That's another huge area where AI plays a role, but also where misinformation is a massive problem. It sounds like Meta, Facebook and Instagram is trying something different, shifting some of the burden of fact-checking onto its users.
That's a pretty accurate characterization of Meta's latest move, yes. They've recently introduced new features to their community notes system.
Community notes. That was originally Birdwatch on Twitter, wasn't it? Before it became X.
Exactly, the same concept. And Meta is now aiming to significantly enhance user engagement with fact-checking across its expansive suite of platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
How do these new features work?
Well, the updates are designed to increase transparency and participation. For example, users will now receive notifications if they've interacted with a piece of content, liked it, shared it, commented on it, that subsequently receives a community note.
Ah, so you get a heads up later if something you engaged with gets flagged.
Right. The note provides additional context or flags potential misinformation. Furthermore, users are now empowered to actually request that a community note be added to content they think is problematic or misleading.
Okay.
And they can also rate the utility or helpfulness of existing notes written by other users.
So it really shifts content moderation towards a more community-driven, crowdsourced model.
Fundamentally, yes. It moves away from relying solely on the editorial decisions of a relatively small group of third-party fact-checking organizations or Meta's own internal teams. The idea is to leverage the collective wisdom, or at least the collective attention, of the crowd.
So Meta's basically asking the entire internet to fact-check itself, which is, well, it's certainly an experiment in extreme optimism, wouldn't you say? While it sounds kind of good in theory, crowdsourcing truth, it makes me wonder what kind of notes would pop up on some of the more, shall we say, contentious political posts we see online, and who ultimately gets to decide what's a helpful note versus just, piling on.
Indeed, the optimism is palpable, and so are the inherent complexities and potential pitfalls. You've hit on the key challenges. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about the constantly evolving social contract between users, platforms, and the information environment, especially with AI playing a growing role in content generation and curation. And it reflects our collective struggle with maintaining information integrity in the digital age.
But could it backfire?
Well, while community-driven fact-checking offers the potential for scalability and maybe incorporating diverse perspectives, significant concerns remain. Concerns about the potential for misuse.
Like brigades coordinating to downvote notes they don't like.
Exactly. Or gaming the system. There are concerns about the inherent biases that exist within any large community and the potential for inconsistency in how notes are applied without rigorous central oversight or clear standards. It could, as you suggested, lead to a kind of mob rule where popular but incorrect narratives suppress factual context, or it could be weaponized by coordinated groups seeking to suppress legitimate viewpoints or promote specific agendas, both political and otherwise.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
It raises an absolutely fundamental question. Who is ultimately responsible when the algorithms driving content visibility go awry, or when community moderation itself succumbs to its own biases and vulnerabilities? Who is responsible for combating sophisticated disinformation campaigns or protecting vulnerable users, especially children, from harmful content?
It seems like there are no easy answers.
These are incredibly complex, multifaceted challenges. They require continuous adaptation from the platforms, development of robust ethical frameworks, ongoing public debate, and probably a constant reevaluation of our digital governance strategies as technology continues to evolve. 3. Geopolitical flashpoints. Conflict, diplomacy, and domestic unrest.
All right, let's pivot now from the digital frontier to the complex and often volatile world of geopolitics. We're seeing some intense flashpoints erupting, particularly in the Middle East and also on Europe's eastern edge, with significant ripple effects being felt across the globe. It really feels like the international stage is more fractured, more tense than it has been in a long time.
You're absolutely right. The global landscape is indeed incredibly tense right now. The situation in the Middle East in particular has seen a truly shocking and dangerous escalation recently. In a recent and highly provocative development, Israel launched an airstrike on a residential building located in Doha, the capital of Qatar.
An airstrike in Qatar, not Gaza, but Qatar.
Correct. The target was reportedly a location housing Hamas leaders. Now, what makes this action particularly egregious and fraught with diplomatic peril is that it occurred precisely while delicate, U.S.-proposed ceasefire discussions were actively taking place. Talks aimed at ending the escalating violence in Gaza.
Okay, let's just pause there. An Israeli strike inside Qatar, a sovereign nation that has often acted as a mediator while ceasefire talks involving Qatar are supposedly happening. That sounds less like an accident and more like an intentional disruption of any peace process. And it must have just poured gasoline on the fire regarding the Gaza situation. The timing feels deliberate, to put it mildly.
It absolutely did seem calculated to many observers, and the implications are profound and immediate. The strike instantly sparked widespread global condemnation, including unusually sharp rebukes from traditional long-standing allies of Israel like the United States, Germany, and even India.
That's significant, those countries speaking out.
Very significant. Critics across the international community swiftly labeled it a blatant violation of international law, a severe infringement on Qatar's sovereignty, and a direct sabotage of diplomatic efforts. Qatar's own Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, didn't mince words. He directly accused Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of committing state terrorism and of actively, deliberately sabotaging the critical Gaza hostage talks.
Strong words.
Extremely strong. He called for a united Arab response and even mentioned pursuing legal action against Netanyahu internationally.
And meanwhile, on the ground in Gaza itself, the situation was already catastrophic, wasn't it?
Beyond dire, and this escalation certainly hasn't helped. Recent reports indicate over 70 individuals were killed in Israeli strikes just on Wednesday alone in Gaza City. The United Nations and its humanitarian partners issued urgent warnings. They say nearly 1 million civilians in Gaza City, people who were previously ordered by Israel to evacuate to the south, now find themselves trapped with no safe place to go, caught in an escalating conflict zone.
No safe place. That's horrible.
The entire region is experiencing a catastrophic famine. The UN reports over 500,000 people suffering from severe starvation, destitution, and widespread illness due to the lack of food, clean water, and medical care. The World Health Organization, the WHO, reports a tragic toll. 361 Palestinians, including 130 children, have already died specifically from malnutrition and related diseases since this phase of the conflict began.
Children dying of malnutrition.
And the hospitals that are still functional are completely overwhelmed. They're operating at nearly 3 times their maximum capacity, struggling desperately to cope with the constant influx of wounded and sick amid severe shortages of fuel, medicine, blood, and basic supplies.
It's just an unimaginable humanitarian crisis unfolding before our eyes. And we're seeing these Israeli airstrikes extending beyond just Gaza and now Qatar, aren't we? It seems indicative of a broader regional strategy.
Yes, the conflict's tentacles are indeed reaching further now. Israeli airstrikes have also reportedly hit Yemen's capital, Sana'a, killing dozens there.
Targeting the Houthi rebels.
Presumably targeting Houthi capabilities, yes. The Houthis have been launching attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea, citing the situation in Gaza. Analysts interpret these strikes in Yemen and Qatar as part of a broader Israeli strategy against perceived regional threats, extending beyond Hamas.
What has the U.S. response been, especially given President Trump's historically strong relationship with Netanyahu?
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump, while publicly acknowledging Israel's security concerns, did reportedly urge Prime Minister Netanyahu to refrain from further strikes on Qatar, emphasizing the need for de-escalation and focusing on the ceasefire efforts. However, as you noted, many analysts point to President Trump's historical alignment with Israeli interests, which arguably complicates the U.S.'s role as an impartial mediator and perhaps limits its ability to exert effective pressure on the Netanyahu government.
So the diplomacy is incredibly tangled.
Incredibly tangled. What's truly striking here is this complex, dangerous web of diplomatic failures, military escalations, and the immense, undeniable human cost, primarily borne by civilians. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a stark and tragic reminder of how quickly regional conflicts can destabilize broader international relations, completely undermine crucial humanitarian efforts, and potentially redraw long-standing geopolitical alliances.
It raises huge questions.
And it raises an absolutely critical question. At what point do these actions, the strikes, the rhetoric, the humanitarian catastrophe, lead to significant and perhaps irreversible shifts in global alliances? Could this fundamentally alter the international order? And what are the long-term devastating consequences for the millions of civilians caught in the crossfire? And just add another layer, the open celebration of the attack in Qatar, seen on at least one Israeli right-wing news channel, further highlights the deep ideological divisions and the intensely provocative nature of such actions, making any path towards de-escalation and lasting peace seem incredibly difficult right now.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to Europe's eastern edge. The situation there is also looking increasingly tense, with these recent reports of Russian drones crossing into Polish airspace. That sounds incredibly dangerous, like a direct, risky game of chicken being played right on the border of a major conflict zone.
That's a very accurate assessment, and it's a deeply concerning development for NATO and for European stability. Poland has officially reported the downing of multiple Russian drones that illegally entered its sovereign airspace. This marks a significant and seemingly deliberate escalation in tensions related to the ongoing war in Ukraine.
And Poland shot them down, with NATO help.
Yes, these drones were successfully intercepted and shot down, reportedly with the rapid assistance of NATO military aircraft operating in the region. This underscores the alliance's immediate response capabilities and the seriousness with which they view such incursions. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk stated unequivocally that there were at least 19 such violations detected within a concentrated 7-hour period.
19 violations in 7 hours. That doesn't sound accidental.
It makes an accidental explanation seem less plausible to many. Russia, for its part, has officially denied any intention to target Poland directly. They've suggested the incursions might have been accidental navigational errors or perhaps part of routine operations near the border, and they've proposed consultations.
But 19 times.
The sheer number of incursions, combined with the timing and the overall context of the war in Ukraine, makes that explanation difficult for Poland and NATO allies to fully accept at face value.
The truly striking aspect of this, for me, is the direct challenge it poses. Drones crossing to Polish airspace isn't just a minor border incident, is it? It feels like a direct test of NATO's resolve, its famous Article 5 commitment, and a very risky provocation at the border of a major war. What are the broader implications here, especially for, say, everyday travel and security across Europe? Could this affect flights?
Indeed, this isn't just a localized border skirmish. It has potentially far-reaching implications. As you said, this incident makes Poland the first NATO member to actively engage against Russian drone threats in this specific manner during this conflict, directly using its air defense systems with acknowledged NATO support. The international reaction was swift. The United Kingdom, for example, quickly condemned the drone strikes as unprecedented and a grave violation of international norms and Polish sovereignty.
And Poland invoked Article 4.
Yes, in response, Poland formally invoked NATO's Article 4. That article doesn't trigger automatic military action like Article 5, but it initiates urgent consultations among all member nations whenever a member feels its security, territorial integrity, or political independence is threatened. It signals a serious concern.
What have other leaders said?
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen labeled the incursion a reckless violation of sovereign airspace. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte highlighted the immediate involvement of various NATO air and surveillance assets already operating in the region, asserting that the situation is inherently dangerous, regardless of whether Russia's intent was hostile or merely negligent.
So whether it was deliberate probing or just incompetence, it's still dangerous.
Exactly. Whether the incursions were deliberate testing of NATO's air defenses, accidental navigational errors due to electronic warfare perhaps, or part of a calculated strategy of intimidation. They collectively pose a critical challenge to NATO's response strategies, its deterrence posture, and its collective defense commitment. It serves as a real litmus test for the alliance's unity, its resolve, and its ability to deter such provocations effectively without escalating uncontrollably.
What do analysts think Russia's game is here?
Many analysts suggest this pattern fits within Russia's broader strategy of gradual escalation or testing boundaries against the West, constantly pushing the limits, observing the responses, sowing uncertainty, perhaps trying to intimidate nations supporting Ukraine.
And the risk to civilian planes.
Furthermore, these incidents undeniably raise increased safety risks for civil aviation across Eastern and Central Europe. Airlines are now facing heightened concerns about potentially needing to reroute flights, the risk of GPS jamming or spoofing affecting navigation, potential disruptions to air traffic control systems, and just the overall security of European airspace.
So it could directly impact travel insurance costs.
Potentially, yes. It could impact travel schedules, increase insurance premiums for airlines operating in the region, and certainly affect the perception of safety in what is normally a very busy continental air corridor. The risk, even if small, of a misidentification or an accident involving civilian aircraft is now higher.
Okay. From tense international borders to internal turmoil within a major European nation. France, a country known for its, let's say, vibrant history of protest, seems to be grappling with significant domestic unrest right now. This seems largely triggered by President Emmanuel Macron's recent political choices and his government's push for austerity measures.
That's a very precise summary of the situation. France is indeed facing widespread and quite intense unrest. Large-scale anti-government protests, spearheaded by a newly emergent movement calling itself Block Everything, have erupted across the country in recent days. This profound turmoil seems to have immediately followed President Emmanuel Macron's somewhat controversial selection of Sébastien Lecornu as the new prime minister.
Lecornu, wasn't he the armed forces minister? A more conservative choice?
Yes, seen by many as a move to the right. And this appointment has undeniably escalated public discontent, acting as a kind of lightning rod for many simmering frustrations that were already present.
So Macron's approval rating was already pretty low, wasn't it? And then this new prime minister selection just pours fuel on the fire. What exactly are people so passionately angry about that they're taking to the streets trying to block everything?
Macron's personal trust rating had indeed plummeted significantly, reportedly falling below 20% even before this latest crisis, which is a historically low figure for a French president. The protests are a direct reflection of deep-rooted, widespread frustrations over his government's policies, particularly a package of stringent austerity measures that the administration has proposed.
Austerity, meaning spending cuts.
Yes, measures designed to curb public spending and reduce the national debt. But they include some deeply unpopular proposals, such as potentially scrapping several public holidays to increase workdays and implementing significant cuts to welfare payments and social programs. These are perceived as hitting many working-class and vulnerable citizens the hardest.
So people feel the government is balancing the budget on their backs.
That's certainly the sentiment driving much of the anger. Demonstrators, estimated at a substantial 175,000 nationwide in recent protests, aim to disrupt public services, transportation, schools, government offices, and essentially bring the country to a standstill to force the government to reconsider.
And were there clashes? Arrests?
Yes, the scale of the unrest led to widespread clashes between protesters and riot police in various cities, including major confrontations in Paris. Hundreds were arrested. Reports mention 150 in Paris alone on one day, and 473 nationwide over a short period. Protesters engaged in significant acts of civil disobedience, setting fire to rubbish bins, erecting makeshift barricades, blocking major roadways and roundabouts, disrupting train services and airports.
It sounds very disruptive.
The intensity and some of the tactics being used are strongly reminiscent of the Gilets jaunes, or Yellow Vest movement, that shook France a few years ago. It indicates perhaps a recurring pattern of public anger against perceived economic injustices, austerity, and what some see as Macron's top-down, centralized style of power.
And it sounds like social media, particularly platforms known for being maybe more resistant to government interference, is playing a very central role in organizing all of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. Social media is a key tool here. Notably, Pavel Durov, the somewhat enigmatic founder of the messaging platform Telegram, publicly voiced strong support for the ongoing protests in France.
The Telegram founder?
Right.
Really?
Yes. He openly criticized President Macron, accusing his administration of displaying authoritarian tendencies and attempting censorship, particularly regarding online platforms. Durov expressed pride, he said, that Telegram has become a critical tool for dissent and free speech in France and elsewhere, providing a secure and often uncensored platform for activists and ordinary citizens to organize, communicate, coordinate actions, and share information outside of the control of traditional media channels or government oversight.
So Telegram is leaning into its role as a platform for protest.
It highlights that dual nature of social media in political movements. It's both a powerful organizing tool for dissent and potentially a vector for information, or indeed for misinformation and rumor, making it hard to control the narrative. If we connect this to the bigger picture, what's happening in France seems to reflect a broader, perhaps growing trend across many parts of Europe, not just France. A trend of public dissatisfaction with established political leadership, frustration with the perceived negative impacts of austerity measures implemented since the financial crisis, or more recently, and maybe a general sense of economic precarity.
So it's not just a French problem.
It resonates elsewhere. And this raises an absolutely essential question about the long-term stability and longevity of governments facing such widespread, organized, and digitally amplified public dissent. And it poses profound challenges for those governments. How can they possibly regain public trust and legitimacy in an era where information flows so rapidly? Social movements can mobilize quickly online, and traditional authority seems increasingly questioned. 4. Unearthing the past and confronting the present. Ancient history, modern violence, and ethical legacies.
Okay, we've covered the vastness of the cosmos and the complexities of current geopolitical hotspots. Now let's take a truly deep dive into history, pushing back the timeline of human ingenuity by potentially millions of years. There's been an archaeological discovery that really challenges our preconceptions about our ancient ancestors. It's quite mind-blowing.
It is an absolutely groundbreaking archaeological discovery, yes, one that indeed could rewrite several chapters of human prehistory, particularly in Southeast Asia. Researchers have unearthed 7 remarkably well-preserved stone tools on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi.
Okay, stone tools, but how old are they?
That's the astonishing part. They date back approximately 1.04 to 1.5 million years.
1.5 million years on Sulawesi. Wow.
It's a truly profound find. It pushes back the earliest known evidence of human, or rather, hominin presence in this specific island region by hundreds of thousands of years.
All right, let's unpack this. Million-year-old tools. That's mind-bogglingly ancient in itself, but what's truly astonishing from what I read is the implication that the hominins who made these tools might have had to sail there, maybe on, wait for it, a raft of reeds or something. That's not just an ancient adventure story, that's a testament to early human daring and ingenuity that feels almost unbelievable for that time period.
It absolutely pushes the boundaries of our current understanding of ancient hominin ingenuity, their cognitive abilities, and their mobility. It's a real paradigm shift. This remarkable find doesn't just significantly push back the timeline for hominin habitation in this particular region of Wallachia, the islands between mainland Asia and Australia. But perhaps more profoundly, it suggests the astonishing possibility that ancient hominins were making significant maritime journeys long before the advent of what we consider modern human species, Homo sapiens.
How could they have crossed the sea back then? We're talking deep waters, strong currents between islands there, right?
Exactly. Treacherous sea barriers would have separated Sulawesi from the nearest mainland, even during periods of lower sea level when land bridges might have extended further. The discoverers hypothesized that these early humans, or perhaps hominins like Homo erectus, may have crossed these barriers, maybe not intentionally setting sail, but potentially by utilizing floating vegetation.
Like accidentally getting swept out to sea on a chunk of land during a storm?
Possibly. Naturally forming rafts of reeds, bamboo tangled together, or maybe even large floating mats of volcanic pumice after an eruption. Getting swept out during major storms or tsunamis is one possibility. Even if accidental, reaching Sulawesi implies a level of resilience, adaptability, and resourcefulness that was previously thought by many to be far beyond the capabilities of hominins from that deep Pliocene-Pleistocene era.
So this offers new insights into how they spread.
Profound new insights into ancient migration patterns, yes. It provides critical data that could indicate the presence of very early hominin species out in these islands, possibly species related to the famous hobbit hominins, Homo floresiensis, who we know lived on the nearby island of Flores somewhat later.
Ah, the hobbits. Remind us, who were Homo floresiensis exactly, and what makes the identity of these specific toolmakers on Sulawesi still such an enigmatic mystery? Why don't we know who made these million-year-old tools?
Right, Homo floresiensis, often nicknamed hobbits, were a distinct hominin species discovered on Flores Island, also in Indonesia. They were notable for their extremely diminutive stature, only about a meter tall and relatively small brains. Yet they managed to survive there until perhaps as recently as 50,000 years ago and crafted surprisingly sophisticated stone tools.
And their presence on Flores also implies some kind of sea crossing, right?
Yes, their presence so far east of the Asian mainland also strongly suggests an early, perhaps accidental seafaring or island hopping capability in their lineage. Now, back on Sulawesi, the identity of the hominins who made these much older million-year-old tools remains enigmatic, precisely because, so far, researchers haven't found any corresponding fossil evidence alongside them.
No bones, no teeth, just the tools.
Exactly. No hominin skeletal remains have yet been uncovered in the same geological layers as these incredibly ancient tools on Sulawesi. This lack of fossil evidence makes it incredibly difficult to pinpoint which specific hominin species was responsible. Were they an early population of Homo erectus, which we know is widespread in Asia? Were they perhaps ancestors of Homo floresiensis? Or could they represent another currently unknown hominin lineage that made it out to these islands?
So many possibilities.
It really accentuates Sulawesi's pivotal and perhaps previously underappreciated role in the grand evolutionary narrative of ancient human dispersal across island Southeast Asia. What's truly fascinating here is how fundamentally this challenges our long-held assumptions about early human capabilities. It suggests our ancient ancestors, even over 1 million years ago, were far more resourceful, adaptable, and maybe adventurous than we previously gave them credit for. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it means we might need to seriously reconsider, maybe even fundamentally rewrite, entire chapters of human evolutionary history in Southeast Asia. We may need to recognize ancient maritime skills, or at least successful accidental voyaging, potentially hundreds of thousands or even 1 million years earlier than previously thought.
Incredible. Okay, now let's shift, reluctantly perhaps, from the deep past to a much more somber and very recent event in the present day. A tragic incident that has sent shockwaves through the political landscape in the United States, sparking difficult, necessary conversations about the state of political discourse and safety.
Yes. A very sobering event. On Wednesday, Charlie Kirk, who is a prominent conservative political commentator, a very close ally of President Donald Trump, and the influential founder of Turning Point USA.
Turning Point USA, the organization focused on promoting conservative values among young people on college campuses and high schools.
That's the one.
Well,
He was tragically shot dead during a public speaking event he was holding at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The circumstances surrounding this horrific event are still under intense investigation by law enforcement.
So what does this all mean for the United States? I mean, the lark of such a prominent and admittedly polarizing political voice in such a violent way, it certainly sparks a lot of difficult and necessary conversations, doesn't it? Conversations about the state of our political climate, the intensity of division, and the very real dangers facing public figures who engage in passionate, sometimes confrontational discourse.
It absolutely does, and the gravity of the situation really cannot be overstated. The shocking incident drew immediate and widespread condemnation from across the entire political spectrum, Republicans, Democrats, independents alike. President Donald Trump ordered flags on federal buildings to be flown at half-mast in Kirk's honor and issued a statement urging prayers for Kirk's family and condemning political violence, emphasizing a call for nonviolence and respect in political discourse.
Is the investigation underway? Do they know anything about motive?
The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is actively involved in the ongoing investigation alongside local law enforcement. A suspect was apprehended at the scene and has been taken into custody. As of now, details about the suspect or potential motives have not been officially released as the investigation is proceeding. But regardless of the specific motive, this tragic event undeniably underscores rising and deeply concerning trends regarding political violence or the threat of it in the United States. And it raises urgent questions about how to ensure the safety of public figures engaged in political discourse, regardless of their ideology or viewpoint.
There's been a lot of reflection online, hasn't there?
Yes, many commentators immediately began reflecting on Charlie Kirk's significant and often polarizing influence within the conservative movement, particularly among younger conservatives, and speculating on the potential far-reaching effects his sudden death might have on that movement's future direction and tone. Looking at different sources, you see varied perspectives on the context. Some sources highlighted what they termed a troubling trend of political violence among the older generation, sometimes linking it to increasing attacks or threats against populist politicians globally, and attributing it in part to what they see as a hostile environment created by ruling parties that, in their view, demonize political opponents.
Okay. And other perspectives.
Other sources focus more on President Trump's remarks, noting that while he acknowledged the profound pain and loss and called for nonviolence, his words could also serve as a rallying cry for his supporters, urging them to remain engaged, but to focus on peaceful channels of political action. Ultimately, this tragic event raises an absolutely critical question about the profound responsibility of political rhetoric from all sides in an increasingly polarized and often volatile society. And it highlights the tangible, sometimes deadly risks faced by public figures who are prominent voices in these passionate debates.
It's a difficult conversation.
It is. And while the specific details and motivations behind any such tragic event are still under investigation and must be determined by facts, the broader trend of rising political tension and the potential for violence is a clear and deeply concerning societal issue. One that collectively, as a nation, needs to be addressed thoughtfully, urgently, and perhaps with a renewed commitment to civil discourse, even amidst disagreement.
Absolutely. And finally today, a story that serves as a powerful reminder that history has a very long arm. It can reach directly into the present day to demand accountability, sometimes from unexpected places, even from well-known and seemingly innocuous consumer brands. It's a case study in confronting a sobering ethical legacy.
This is indeed a deeply disturbing and profoundly important story, highlighting the long and sometimes very dark shadow that corporate history can cast. Weleda, which is a globally recognized skincare brand, often lauded for its natural and organic products based on anthroposophical principles.
Right, I know Weleda. They have those distinctive packaging designs, very nature-focused branding.
Exactly. That very brand has officially announced the launch of a comprehensive internal inquiry. This inquiry is in direct response to extremely serious allegations that its products were potentially used in horrific human experiments conducted by a Nazi doctor during World War II.
Nazi human experiments involving Weleda products that shock.
It is. The claims, which have understandably sent shockwaves through the ethical consumer movement and the natural products industry, surfaced following a recent academic study. This study indicated that certain Weleda products may have been tested on prisoners in Nazi concentration camps. A truly heinous accusation.
What truly brings this home, but in a very, very sobering way, is that image. A modern brand, known today for wellness and natural ingredients, now facing this incredibly dark and profoundly disturbing shadow from its past. A shadow that absolutely demands a thorough, transparent investigation, doesn't it? You can't just ignore something like that.
Absolutely not. This revelation raises immensely significant ethical concerns regarding the company's historical practices during the Nazi era. Questions about potential direct involvement or perhaps indirect complicity or benefiting from some of humanity's most heinous actions. Walida, for its part, has publicly expressed its commitment to uncovering the full truth, however uncomfortable or damaging that truth may be. They've pledged to thoroughly address any potential ramifications that emerge from this historical inquiry.
What has the public reaction been like?
Public reaction, especially among consumers who felt aligned with Walida's ethical branding, has been swift and overwhelmingly one of outrage, disbelief, and a profound sense of betrayal. The mere suggestion that a brand they trusted for natural and anthroposophical care could be associated even historically with such a dark and morally reprehensible chapter is deeply unsettling for many.
What will the inquiry involve? Looking at old records.
Presumably, yes. The inquiry will need to delve deeply into the company's historical records, corporate archives, potentially correspondence from the period, and maybe even seek out any remaining witness testimonies or documentation from researchers. The aim would be to reveal extensive and perhaps previously undisclosed information about Walida's past operations, its leadership, and its affiliations during the tumultuous World War II era in Germany and Switzerland, where the company has roots.
This isn't just about Walida's reputation, is it?
No, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a powerful and stark reminder that history, particularly corporate history and its ethical dimensions, continues to demand accountability, often decades or even generations later. We've seen similar reckonings with other companies regarding historical ties to regimes or practices now considered abhorrent. This situation not only severely impacts Walida's immediate reputation, consumer trust, and likely its financial standing, but it also poses broader and critical questions. Questions about the historical accountability of the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries as a whole, about the ethics of branding and marketing, the potential for ethics washing, about the erosion and rebuilding of consumer trust, and about a company's fundamental moral standing within the modern beauty and wellness industry.
It really forces a difficult question.
It raises an absolutely crucial question. How do companies today genuinely grapple with, transparently disclose, and proactively, perhaps, even atone for problematic historical ties? How do they rebuild trust and ensure that ethical practices are not just a matter of current policy or marketing, but are deeply woven into the very fabric of the company's identity and demonstrably upheld across generations? It's a profound challenge of corporate responsibility. 5. Global challenges and innovations. Environment, health, and the future of well-being. Okay, let's turn our attention now as we head towards the end of our deep dive to some of the biggest global challenges we face today. From the escalating impacts of climate change to really exciting breakthroughs in public health and the innovative solutions that are emerging to tackle them. First up, the truly mounting cost of climate change, seen so vividly in recent disasters, but also a powerful, perhaps ancient lesson from indigenous communities on how to build resilience and maybe even thrive in the face of it. That's a vital connection to make, absolutely. In recent years, we've seen countries like Pakistan and India, along with many, many other regions globally, face some of the most devastating natural disasters in their recorded history, particularly catastrophic flooding during the intensified monsoon seasons, but also droughts, heat waves, wildfires elsewhere.
It seems relentless.
These extreme weather events lead to catastrophic destruction, immense loss of life, and displacement of millions. And they carry staggering economic, social, and environmental costs. Costs which are undeniably being exacerbated, amplified by the accelerating effects of climate change. This reality necessitates an urgent and comprehensive global discussion, moving beyond talk to action on proactive disaster preparedness, robust and equitable international aid mechanisms, and implementing truly sustainable environmental practices on a global scale. We need systemic change.
We hear about these devastating floods and other climate-related disasters far too often now. It feels like the new normal, tragically. But there's a truly fascinating and, dare I say, hopeful connection here that you mentioned, a connection to how indigenous communities in particular are demonstrating a proven path forward, especially in critical ecosystems like the Amazon rainforest. It feels like a testament to ancient wisdom offering very relevant modern solutions.
Exactly. It's not just anecdotal. There's strong scientific evidence now. A groundbreaking new study, for instance, reveals a profound truth. Areas located near intact, legally recognized indigenous lands in the Amazon rainforest exhibit significantly lower risks of fire-related respiratory ailments and also lower rates of vector-borne diseases.
Vector-borne diseases. Remind us what those are.
Those are illnesses transmitted by vectors, typically insects like mosquitoes, ticks, or fleas. Think malaria, dengue fever, Zika virus, Lyme disease, things that thrive in disturbed ecosystems.
Okay, so healthier forests near indigenous lands mean healthier people nearby?
It's not just a correlation. The study suggests a direct causal link. For example, the researchers calculated that preventing human-induced forest fires just in the Brazilian Amazon alone over just a single decade could have saved an estimated 16,800 lives from respiratory illnesses linked to smoke inhalation.
16,000 lives just from preventing fires.
And those human-induced fires, often deliberately set for agricultural expansion, clearing land for cattle or soy, or for illegal logging or mining, they don't just exacerbate carbon emissions, pouring greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and contributing to global warming. They also create a dangerous positive feedback loop. Degraded, drier forests become much more susceptible to catching fire, dramatically increasing the likelihood and intensity of further, larger wildfires in the future.
So it spirals.
It absolutely spirals.
Yeah.
And what's truly insightful here, and often tragically overlooked in policy discussions, is that undeniable, critical link between environmental health, human well-being, and social justice, particularly indigenous rights. Healthy, intact ecosystems, especially those actively managed and protected by indigenous communities using generations of traditional ecological knowledge, consistently maintain lower levels of deforestation. They act as massive carbon sinks, storing carbon dioxide, and they maintain higher levels of biodiversity.
How do their practices help?
Practices like sustainable forest management, sometimes using controlled, low-intensity burns to prevent larger wildfires, protecting sacred groves, promoting biodiversity through traditional agriculture. These highlight their immense importance in combating climate change at a local and global level. And that direct link between human health and environmental quality is unequivocally clear from the data. A healthier, intact forest naturally filters pollutants from the air and water, helps regulate local climates and rainfall patterns, and crucially, reduces the habitats for disease vectors like mosquitoes. This directly reduces the incidence of diseases like malaria and various respiratory illnesses.
It seems so obvious when you put it that way. Protect the forest, protect the people.
It does. Yet, despite this compelling and scientifically proven evidence of their vital role, a huge challenge remains. About 1/3 of indigenous lands in Brazil, for example, still lack full legal title and demarcation.
Meaning they don't have secure rights to their ancestral territories.
Yes, exactly. This lack of secure land tenure makes them dramatically more vulnerable to illegal logging, mining operations, agricultural encroachment, and land grabbing, undermining both their rights and the crucial ecosystem services their lands provide. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, empowering indigenous communities, legally protecting their land rights, respecting their traditional knowledge, and ensuring they have a voice in conservation decisions, this isn't just an ethical imperative or simply a matter of human rights, though it is certainly both of those things. It is unequivocally a vital, proven, and highly effective climate solution, one that benefits all of humanity through carbon storage, biodiversity protection, and public health improvements. It's smart policy.
A powerful message. Okay, from the health of the planet, let's zoom right into the intricate health of our own bodies. Scientists are making some incredible discoveries here, too, some even challenging our fundamental understanding of common, widespread diseases like type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. It seems our gut microbiome, all those trillions of bacteria living inside us, might be a much bigger and sometimes more troublesome player in our health than we ever really thought.
It's an absolutely significant breakthrough in metabolic research, yes. The gut microbiome is a hot area, and this adds a major new piece to the puzzle. Recent scientific advances have unveiled a crucial and previously largely underestimated link between the composition and activity of our gut microbiota and the development or worsening of metabolic disorders. Specifically, new research is focusing intensely on a compound that was previously thought to be relatively minor, known as D-lactate.
D-lactate?
Okay, never heard of it. Most people haven't. It's a metabolite produced by certain types of gut bacteria, distinct from the L-lactate our own muscles produce during exercise. A study by Canadian researchers published recently in a major journal revealed that elevated levels of this specific D-lactate isomer in the bloodstream can significantly exacerbate the severity of type 2 diabetes and also non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Okay, let's unpack this. So basically, some of our gut bacteria might be producing this stuff, D-lactate, it gets into our blood, and then it secretly messes with our metabolism, making diabetes and liver problems worse. And the kicker is, scientists found a way to just scoop up the problem chemical before it causes harm. That sounds almost too good to be true, like a magic bullet for metabolic issues.
Slight chuckle. It certainly sounds revolutionary, doesn't it? And the mechanism they've developed is quite elegant, though still in early stages, of course. This newly discovered bacterially derived metabolite, D-lactate, as I said, is produced by certain gut bacteria, particularly when consuming certain types of carbohydrates, perhaps. Once it gets absorbed from the gut into the bloodstream, the research shows it has two main negative effects. It directly elevates blood glucose levels, contributing to hyperglycemia.
High blood sugar, the hallmark of diabetes.
Exactly. And perhaps even more insidiously, it also increases lipid synthesis in the liver, meaning the liver starts producing and storing more fat, which is central to fatty liver disease. So D-lactate acts as a genuine double-edged sword for metabolic health.
Okay, so how did they scoop it up?
To combat these adverse effects, the scientists ingeniously designed a biocompatible polymer. You can think of it essentially as a tiny, highly specific, inert sponge that can be ingested maybe as a pill.
A gut sponge.
Effectively, yes. This polymer is designed to specifically bind to and trap gut-derived D-lactate within the digestive tract, preventing its absorption into the bloodstream in the first place.
So it mops it up before it can cause trouble.
Precisely. And in rigorous trials conducted with obese mice, which are often used as models for human metabolic disease, this innovative and non-invasive approach significantly improved their blood sugar control and dramatically reduced insulin resistance. And crucially, as you picked up on, it achieved these positive results without the need for any changes to the mice's diet. They kept eating the high-fat diet that made them obese and diabetic in the first place.
That without the need for dietary changes part is truly remarkable, isn't it? Given how central diet and lifestyle interventions have traditionally been, almost exclusively been, the approach to managing diabetes and fatty liver. This feels like a potential paradigm shift.
It absolutely could be a paradigm shift, and potentially a profound one if it translates successfully to humans. This targeted technique opens entirely new and exciting potential avenues for managing type 2 diabetes and its closely associated liver complications. It fundamentally challenges the traditional methods that have historically focused almost exclusively on broad, often difficult to maintain lifestyle and dietary modifications.
Which, let's be honest, many people struggle with long-term.
Exactly. While diet and exercise undeniably remain critically important for overall health and managing these conditions, this targeted intervention suggests a new, potentially powerful therapeutic pathway operating independently of those factors. This raises an absolutely important question about the profound, complex, and often overlooked influence of our individual gut microbiomes on the development and progression of chronic health conditions. And it highlights how precisely targeting specific problematic microbial metabolites, rather than using broad-spectrum antibiotics that wipe out good bacteria too, or relying solely on dietary overhauls, could be a genuine game-changer for the millions upon millions of individuals suffering globally from these metabolic diseases.
It really points towards more personalized medicine, doesn't it? Understanding your specific gut issues.
It really emphasizes the critical need for a more holistic, systems-level, and ultimately personalized view of human health, one that fully recognizes the complex and dynamic interactions happening within our bodies, particularly between our own cells and the vast community of microbes living with us.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, speaking of groundbreaking health innovations that sound almost like science fiction, scientists are now apparently, literally, turning back the evolutionary clock. They're trying to revive an ancient lost gene to cure a modern ailment that affects millions of people. Gout. This sounds like something straight out of a novel, bringing ancient biology into cutting-edge therapy.
It's a fantastic example of leveraging deep evolutionary biology for modern medical solutions, absolutely. It's truly a testament to scientific creativity and the power of new genetic tools. In a genuinely groundbreaking study, scientists have successfully, in a laboratory setting, turned back the evolutionary clock, as you said. They've managed to revive a 20-million-year-old gene known as uricase.
Uricase.
And this incredible achievement could potentially pave the way for innovative and maybe even potentially curative treatments for gout.
Gout. That's the really painful joint inflammation, right? Caused by uric acid crystals?
Exactly. A profoundly painful condition characterized by severe, recurrent episodes of joint inflammation, most famously in the big toe, caused by the buildup and crystallization of chronically elevated levels of uric acid in the bloodstream.
The truly striking aspect of this, for me, is the idea of resurrecting a gene from millions of years ago to fix a very common modern problem. I read it affects something like 4% of the US adult population. That's a lot of people. How did we humans lose this uricase gene in the first place, and how on earth are scientists managing to bring it back?
It's a really fascinating piece of our own evolutionary history. Historically, our distant primate ancestors, along with most other mammals on the planet, naturally produce the enzyme uricase in their livers. Uricase efficiently breaks down uric acid into a much more soluble compound called allantoin, which is then easily excreted in urine. This is a highly effective regulatory mechanism for keeping uric acid levels low.
So what happened to us?
Well, through a series of random genetic mutations occurring over millions of years, specifically in the lineage leading to humans and some other great apes, like chimpanzees and gorillas, the gene coding for the uricase enzyme became non-functional. It was effectively silenced.
We lost the ability to make it. Why? Was there an advantage?
That's debated. Some scientists theorize this evolutionary change might have conferred certain benefits. Uric acid itself is a potent antioxidant, so perhaps higher levels offered some protection against oxidative stress, potentially contributing to our longer lifespans or larger brains compared to other mammals. But that's speculative. The definite downside was that it led to a much less efficient metabolism of uric acid in humans and apes. This causes uric acid to accumulate in our blood at levels much higher than in most other mammals, making us uniquely susceptible to it crystallizing in our joints, gout, or forming kidney stones.
So we traded efficient uric acid removal for something else maybe, and now scientists are trying to reverse that trade.
Essentially, yes. Researchers at Georgia State University utilized cutting-edge gene editing technologies, specifically the powerful CRISPR-Cas9 system.
CRISPR, the genetic scissors.
Exactly. They used CRISPR to precisely target and modify the DNA sequence within human liver cells grown in the lab, specifically reactivating the ancient dormant uricase gene that's still technically present in our genome, just switched off. They essentially flipped the switch back on.
And it worked. The human cells started making uricase again.
According to their published results, yes. The edited human liver cells began producing functional uricase enzyme again and were able to effectively break down uric acid, just like our distant ancestors did. What's truly captivating here, as you said, is this elegant blend of deep evolutionary biology, understanding why we lost the gene, and cutting-edge genetic therapy having the tools to potentially restore it.
So this isn't just about managing gout anymore, is it? Like taking pills to lower uric acid. This sounds like it could be a cure potentially. And are there broader implications for other health conditions that seem to stem from this high uric acid problem in humans?
Absolutely. The potential significance extends far beyond just managing gout symptoms, although that alone would be a huge benefit for millions. Researchers suggest this groundbreaking approach could potentially help address a whole range of related metabolic disorders that are also linked epidemiologically to chronically elevated uric acid levels.
Such as
Conditions like hypertension, high blood pressure, the formation of painful kidney stones, which are often composed of uric acid, and even potentially reducing the risk factors for various cardiovascular diseases, where high uric acid is often seen as an independent risk factor. The ultimate aim of this kind of approach isn't just symptom management, it's striving for a sustainable, potentially permanent, natural metabolic solution. The idea is to potentially allow patients to permanently regain their innate ancestral capacity to process and eliminate uric acid naturally, rather than relying on lifelong medications that simply manage the levels or treat the inflammation.
Wow. It really does sound like science fiction becoming reality.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really opens up an entirely new potential paradigm for personalized medicine, and maybe even preventative medicine. A paradigm that explores the lost or dormant metabolic pathways within our own ancient genetic code to solve contemporary health challenges. It raises an absolutely profound and important question. What other ancient biological wisdom, what other dormant genetic capabilities that served our ancestors well might still be hidden within our complex genetic code, waiting perhaps to be rediscovered and potentially reactivated using tools like CRISPR to address today's most intractable ailments, from metabolic diseases to maybe even neurodegenerative conditions or aspects of aging? The possibilities are truly immense, though obviously still require immense research and ethical consideration.
What an absolutely incredible journey we've taken today. Seriously. From those potential whispers of ancient life hidden in Martian rocks.
And the spectacular, truly awesome 8-light-year-long birth announcement of a giant star.
To the tricky ethical tightropes of AI's increasingly human-like voices and its absolutely vast computational needs.
The shifting, dangerous battle lines we see in Europe and the Middle East, with such devastating human costs.
And then diving deep into our own past with those million-year-old tools suggesting daring ancient migrations.
And right back into our own bodies with modern medical breakthroughs that could literally turn back evolutionary time to reshape our health.
You've truly been on a deep dive with us today, absorbing knowledge that impacts us from the scale of the cosmos, right down to our local communities, and even the biochemistry within our own cells.
Indeed. We've really seen today how human ingenuity is constantly pushing boundaries, relentlessly exploring, discovering, and problem-solving, creating incredible potential for good. But we've also seen how critical thinking, rigorous scientific method, and careful ethical considerations are more important than ever as these powerful advancements unfold. We need wisdom alongside capability. The profound interconnectedness of all these seemingly separate global events and scientific breakthroughs really offers a profound perspective on our shared future. It highlights both our vulnerabilities as a species and our remarkable enduring capacity for innovation and adaptation.
So, as we wrap up today's deep dive, what stands out most to you from all the things we've discussed? There was so much packed in there. And as we look ahead, it's worth remembering, isn't it, that knowledge isn't just about finding neat answers. It's often more about cultivating the profound questions. The questions that continue to shape our world, drive our progress, and constantly challenge our understanding of everything around us. You know, from the possibility of ancient Martian microbes hiding beneath the red dust, to the reawakening of a gene that was lost for millions of years right inside our own DNA, and the complex, high-stakes dance of global powers navigating an ever-changing, often dangerous landscape. Our deep dive today really reminds us that critical thinking, seeking out diverse sources, and maintaining a willingness to explore multiple perspectives are absolutely essential skills for navigating the modern world. What breakthroughs, what new challenges will next year's headlines inevitably bring? And maybe more importantly, how will you prepare yourself to understand them, to engage with them thoughtfully, and perhaps even find ways to contribute positively to this ever-evolving world we all share? Food for thought.